You guys, if you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, you need to. It's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcast, and more. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And best of all, Anchor is totally free. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Welcome to Mimesis, the podcast about all the twisted ways art and life imitate each other. I'm Stacey Rourke.
And I'm Sandra Sheriff-Ackerley.
And we are your hosts on this zany adventure. Da, da, da.
We've been having an adventure this morning.
Oh my gosh. I'm just excited we're actually hitting record because...
I know. It's been a minute.
You're too loud.
Stupid
You're too
mics.
quiet. I'm hearing white noise. I'm hearing everything in the background.
Yeah.
I hear dead people. There's just been a lot.
Wait, that's wrong.
That one was just me. Sorry, I didn't say it out loud. But we're here and we're recording.
Yes.
Finally.
Finally.
I have something that I want to bring to your attention, kind of in true crime news, that I find incredibly disturbing. So you've heard about the Idaho murders.
Yes.
The kids that were killed
Yes.
on their college campus. First of all, there's been people that have been like online attacking
One of the survivors.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, listen, y'all. I don't know if you were ever in your early 20s in your party lifestyle where you have roommates. You don't know what's going on in the other rooms of the house all the time. And guess what? If you were out partying until the wee hours of the morning,
Yeah.
you're not in your right frame of mind.
No.
And okay, she heard one of her roommates crying. She saw a dude in the hall.
He
This
could
is
have broke
not-
up with her.
Yeah. She doesn't know what's going on.
Exactly.
And she was probably shit-faced.
Yeah.
So stop fucking victim blaming.
Right. She is probably more upset about it than anybody else because she's like, I could have fucking done something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So stop coming for this young lady. You are not in that position. You were not there.
You are not the detectives. Let the detectives do their job.
Exactly. Leave this poor girl alone.
Right. Like, I mean, I can see their point of she maybe had something to do with it, but at the same time, you are not the detective. You are innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah. So let's keep the focus on Brian, the asshole that actually did it, and go from there. Another thing that I learned about him that is incredibly disturbing is there's a woman who wrote a book about the BTK killer.
Okay.
And this woman is also a college professor. And Brian Koberger, the killer, was taking her class.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So now there's been a lot of speculation, and the BTK killer himself has said, no, I never met with him. I never talked with him. But what if he did? You know, there's
Copycat.
Yeah. What if he was offering him some kind of guidance or instruction? Yeah. So I've never really been somebody that thought much about the death penalty, but in the situations like this where you don't know if this serial killer is influencing people. There's an argument that could be made about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's something to think about.
Yeah.
In a funnier story, my friend Becca is in town right now, and you and I apparently gave her our
bad juju.
Bad airport juju. She was on her way to the airport and she was running late. She wanted to be to the airport by 6:20, and she didn't leave her house until 6:20. So she was freaking out that she was going to be late, and had the thought on the way to the airport, it would be great if I had even like a half-hour delay, just a little half-hour delay.
Yeah.
Nothing big. And apparently her powers of manifesting things are quite big, because that was the day that the FAA shut completely down. So,
but that started at like, I think it was like at 2 a.m. So
yeah, but they didn't, because
they didn't ground all flights until like 6:30, I think.
She was at the airport before they ground her flight. They loaded her plane. Like they were hoping it'll fire back up in time. And then they were like, yeah, no, it's not going to. So get everybody back off the plane.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Her powers of manifesting, and it goes above and beyond that, because she said on her way down here, she was like, oh, I really hope it's not, sweltering hot while I'm down there. And now we've had a cold snap where it was 49 degrees yesterday. So I'm going to see if I can get her to manifest that I suddenly come into money and see.
Yes, please. Come on, Becca.
See if she can use her powers for good.
Yeah, I was like literally watching something, and it was like the FAA, like all US flights are grounded, domestic flights. And I was like, oh shit. Like, I was like, what the fuck happened? And then I was like, okay, it's a computer issue. Like, that really sucks. And I was like, I really hope I don't know anybody who's flying today. And then Becca was flying, and I was like, I'm so sorry, Becca.
We gave you our bad airport juju.
Yep. Anytime you see the three of us now.
Yes, just know. Something's going to happen. The flight is going to have a problem.
Yeah.
She did score herself, because, if there's a delay, you have to look for prime real estate. You have to look for an outlet.
Yes.
So she scored herself real estate by an outlet. But then she had to get up and pee. And she said she ran into the bathroom and ran back out, and somebody had already taken her spot.
Oh, no. See, that's where I get really chummy with the people that are sitting next to me. And I'm like, listen, we're going to be here a while. Can I just leave this here so I can go pee really quick and then come back? And most of the time they're like, yeah, sure. Especially because I
you
happen
talk
to
to
sit
strangers in public. I don't.
I do.
I don't.
Just a little, just enough to be like, I really need to use the bathroom, and I don't want to pack up all my stuff. I'm by myself. Can you please just keep an eye on it?
You're
and
so
I take
trusting. You're so trusting.
I
Not
take
me,
the purse.
man. I'm
take my wallet.
I'm taking everything. I'm taking my roller bag. We're all going in that little tiny bathroom stall.
Yeah.
I'm
a little too trusting.
No. Not me. I am not talking to strangers.
Yeah.
Once we get on the plane, I will, if I'm some person sitting next to me, I will do the polite thing. Hi, excuse me. Do you want the crackers? The lady's trying to get your attention. I'll do that, but we're not going to sit here and talk the whole flight. No.
Well,
no.
There's a fine line, because I had the one flight where I was coming down to see you, and the guy tried to like hit on me, and I was like, I'm married. Yeah. Married. No.
We're not doing that.
No. So there is a fine line of, if you cross that boundary, no.
I walk around with my earbuds in so people can see them. They're not even on. I just keep them in so people know I don't want to talk to you.
I do that too. Yeah. Yeah.
We're not going to have a conversation. Yeah. Okay. So, segue of people you definitely don't want to run into in your life. We're going to be talking about Jack the Ripper today.
Jack the Ripper. Yay. I did not do my homework. I did not find the show to watch, the movie.
Really?
Yeah. So you're going to, I swear I remember watching this, but like I said, I think I had the wrong movie. So
okay.
We're going to learn something new today.
We are talking about the movie From Hell, starring Johnny Depp.
Yes.
Right off the bat, I get to make an apology. When we talked about this last week, I said it was based on a graphic novel written by Stephen King.
Yeah.
That's a bunch of horseshit.
Okay.
Full out lie. The graphic novel was written by Alan Moore and Eddie Campbell and was based on a book that claimed a conspiracy theory involving Jack the Ripper and the royal family, which was written by Stephen Knight.
Stephen Knight. Okay.
Not Stephen King. I mean, there's the K, the N, the I, the G. They're in both last names.
Right.
They're just in a different order. I saw Knight and my mind immediately
just shortened it.
It went to Stephen King.
Mm-hmm.
So my apologies there. So let's get started. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So during 10 weeks in the fall of 1888 is when Jack the Ripper inflicted his reign of terror on Whitechapel, London. He murdered 5 prostitutes in an incredibly brutal manner.
Yes.
Mutilating each corpse in horrifying ways that each one seemed to escalate more than the next, except for one, which he did kill 2 of the women in one night, and the first one wasn't mutilated in quite the fashion. We think he got interrupted, and that's why that particular murder, he didn't complete his normal ritual, and the next one was even more brutal because
he had to make up for lost causes.
Exactly. To this day, his identity has remained a mystery. There's a good chance we'll never really know who Jack the Ripper was, which is a bummer because this particular case has mystified people for centuries.
Right.
Now, in the film From Hell, which was directed by Albert Hughes and Alan Hughes, the name From Hell was taken from, it was the return address on a letter that was sent to the police by an individual claiming to be Jack the Ripper.
Okay.
And there were numerous letters sent. There's a lot of speculation on if these letters were actually written by Jack the Ripper. My opinion, I really think that they're a hoax. I don't think that they're real. But, look into that and make your own opinion on if you think they are. Before I dig in fully into what we got here, I have to say that there's so much to this case. There's boatloads of information. But we're going to be discussing the movie versus the reality of the case. If you're listening to this and you want a deep dive into everything Jack the Ripper, I know I give shout outs to Morbid a lot, but the Morbid podcast did a 5-episode deep dive into Jack the Ripper.
Oh, wow.
So if you want more of the details about the case, I highly recommend giving that a listen. Today we're just going to talk the movie and what was real and what was not. Okie dokie?
Okie dokie.
Okie dokie. Okay, so the film focuses on Inspector Frederick Aberline, played by Johnny Depp, as he tries to solve the Ripper murders. The movie chooses to focus on the popular conspiracy theory about the murders, which involves a royal scandal. In this particular theory, Prince Albert Victor, we'll put some respect on his name, who is the grandson of Queen Victoria, has an affair with a prostitute named Annie Crook. Annie becomes pregnant, and they're secretly married with 5 of Annie's friends acting as witnesses. The names of her friends.
That's a secret. With 5 people?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Super secret with 5 witnesses.
That are friends.
That are friends of Annie's.
That's not a secret.
And they're all prostitutes like Annie. Okay. Their names, Polly Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, and Mary Kelly. These are the women who would become the victims of Jack the Ripper. Those are their actual names. And I don't think their names get mentioned enough.
No.
There was a book, I believe it's called The Five. I'll have to look into that, but it's specifically about Jack's victims.
Okay.
And in my own book, Reaper versus Ripper, I researched them enough as well, and looked into a little bit more of who they were as people so we could give them a voice, because I mean, everybody knows the name Jack the Ripper, but we don't really know the name of his victims.
And that happens a lot with a lot of people that get murdered, that you remember the murderer, but you don't remember the victims.
Exactly. Which is tragic.
It is.
They should be the ones that are remembered.
Correct.
Okay, so these are the 5 women who would later become Jack's victims. In the movie, the baby Annie has with Albert could potentially destroy the royal family because it would be an heir to the throne.
Right.
Which means the parties involved and the witnesses had to be silenced. For this, they called on skilled surgeon Dr. William Gull, who enjoyed the task pointed to him a little bit more than he probably should have.
Yeah.
He was a member of the Freemasons, which is an actual super secretive club of the upper class. And he saw each murder as a Masonic ritual. Before he began his killings, according to the movie, he had Annie imprisoned in an insane asylum and treated bunny ears, her with a frontal lobotomy that robbed her of her identity and her memories. And then he went after each one of the witnesses.
Yeah.
How sad is it to think that that was actually a thing that used to happen back then, though?
It's hard for me to think about, because it's like they really thought that any non-normalcy, like what would be like ADHD, autism, was you needed a frontal lobe lobotomy.
Yeah. Or, your hormones are acting up and, causing drastic mood swings, and you probably need shock therapy. Dude.
Yeah, that I am glad I don't live in those times.
Yeah.
I would have already been dead.
And the stuff that happened to women, man, it was brutal.
Yeah.
Okay, so from Hell shows, oh wow. How's puberty going, Stay? Sorry, my voice just broke. From Hell shows the queen learning of the brutal nature of the surgeon's acts and having him locked into an asylum where he too was given a frontal lobotomy and left there to rot for the remainder of his days.
Good.
So according to the movie, while the public never learned who Jack the Ripper was, it was discovered kind of behind the scenes and kept very hush-hush, and they handled it internally.
Yeah.
And who's to say? Maybe there's something there that we don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know. Wait, some form of government keeping things from the public? No.
Not at all.
Doesn't
Never.
happen. So that's the movie version of what happened. Reality is far different. First off, the royal conspiracy has been discounted as a possibility time and again. That never happened. That's not a thing. There was a woman named Annie Crook who lived during that time period. Honestly, it seems like a pretty common name. They recently discovered there actually was somebody named Jay Dawson that was on the Titanic. Wasn't Jack, but it's a common name. Yeah. So there's a chance that Annie just happened to have the same name.
Right.
There's no evidence that Annie ever knew any of the Ripper victims. There's no connection there. She never had an affair with Prince Albert or otherwise. Definitely didn't have his child. She did not endure a lobotomy. So good for her that she got to keep her brain intact.
Yes.
None of that was true. While Stephen Knight's Jack the Ripper, The Final Solution, focuses on this theory, literally no other researcher has ever supported these claims.
Okay.
So we can pretty much say it made for a good movie, but that's
about it.
That's about it. So what did the movie get right? The name of the murdered women.
Good.
We already said that was accurate. The brutal ways that they were murdered, accurate, especially Mary Kelly at the end.
Yeah.
Mary Kelly was the most horrific of his crimes, and they did get that one spot on. It was horrific. Inspector Aberline was also the name of the law enforcement agent assigned to the case. Another accurate point was, and it's only mentioned in passing. Like, you really have to know elements about Jack the Ripper to pick up on this line, but they mentioned that a butcher's apron was found at one of the scenes. And that is true.
Yeah.
That's also why...
That's why he's the Muffin Man.
He's not.
But you said yourself that he might be.
He might. There was one connection, but that was it. There was the one connection. Because of the apron that they found, there was a time that inspectors leaned towards thinking that Jack the Ripper could be a butcher or a barber.
He's Sweeney Todd.
Todd.
I'm telling you, this all connects. The Muffin Man and the butcher, or the Muffin Man and the barber. They were all played by Johnny Depp.
Yeah. And then he was in a movie about Jack the Ripper. I'm telling you, the connection
is Jack
Johnny
the Ripper
Depp.
Reincarnated as Johnny Depp?
I don't think so. I don't know, man. We got to talking about the Muffin Man, and I lost my spot now. Where were we? Okay, so they thought it could be a butcher or barber for a little while. Another thing that they got spot on in the movie is the way of life in London during that time.
Yeah.
Whitechapel had a population of 76,000 people, and 39% were below the poverty line.
Ugh.
Yeah, that's such a high number.
Mm-hmm.
People were doing whatever it took to survive.
Yeah, whatever.
Literally whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Even if that meant sex work. Many of them, Mary Kelly included, were staying in rooming houses that you paid for night by night. If you make enough that day that you have a place to sleep tonight, you get a room. If you don't, you're out in the cold. And I mean, there was like, you could come in at this time, you got to pay when you come in, and you're out at this time in the morning. You don't get to like keep your possessions there. You don't get to.
Nope.
No, you pay or you're out. And there was no leniency at all for these.
I mean,
people.
You could pay in advance.
Yeah, you could pay in advance, but so it was a very horrible time to live. These women, they didn't just rely on sex work to survive, which is something that the movie didn't touch on, but some of them made and sold paper flowers for extra money. Yeah. Some did mending and sewing. Whatever, man. If you had anything you could use to make a little bit of money, you were doing it.
And this is where people became skilled in multiple different things, just to make money, to live.
Yeah. These were the original side hustles.
Yeah. And that's where I get frustrated, because it's like, people living need certain things. Those basic necessities should be free.
Yeah. Yeah.
Water, food. Like, those should be free.
I agree. And the cost of living going up every day. People are scraping to get by.
Every day.
Yep.
And the rich are getting richer.
Yep. The cost to live is going up, but the paychecks are not.
Exactly.
That's messed up. So these women, they were fighters till their unfortunate end, which came far too soon. But the injustice didn't stop at their murders. The local law enforcement didn't take their deaths seriously
Ugh.
like they would have for, a member of the upper class, because they looked down
Right.
at them, which, turns my fucking stomach.
Mm-hmm.
The police, in fact, tried to target the poor, foreigners, even the Jewish community, and blame them on the crime, right? Blame the crimes on them, because in their mind, and this was a line taken from the movie, no upstanding Englishman could ever commit such crimes.
Bullshit.
Bullshit. Bullshit. And they, as they actually delved into it, they found, and we're going to get into this in a little bit, they found that, no, that's not true. That's not true.
Right.
When they started finding out that the person had to be educated, they were like, well, they must be crazy. There must be something wrong with them, which, is probably true, but still, it's trying to give that upper crust the, oh, they would never do this.
Right.
One little subtle way that the movie showed the differences in the classes during this time was that grape stems were found at the scene of each crime. The impoverished couldn't afford a fruit like that. How sad is that? That grapes were a
Right.
luxury. This was a delicacy only the rich could enjoy. While the grape stems were not actually found at the crime scenes, this was a bit of Hollywood showing that, even basic things like that, these people couldn't afford.
Right. And that's what, like, used to be like 99 cents a pound. That's cheap.
Yeah.
And they couldn't afford that. That's saying something.
Yeah. They couldn't afford a little stem of grapes. Very sad.
That's horrible.
Yeah. That's where you're having, bone broth soup for days, because that's all you have.
That's why, like, literally, you used every piece of the animal.
Yep.
For clothing, for soap, for eating. Like, you used everything.
Because you had
Everything
to.
had a purpose.
Yeah.
Because you had to live. And that's what bothers me so much.
It was a horrible time. And there's, there's elements of this that you can see. We haven't broken completely away from this.
No.
In the film, it shows some of the victims being killed inside of a carriage. That's not the case.
Right.
They were killed on the streets in the pitch black of night. While there's okay, let me backtrack. It's pitch black. It's not like you have streetlights in everywhere.
No.
You might have some lanterns burning, but we already said people don't necessarily have a room every night. So there's going to be people out on the street.
Right.
Whoever this Jack the Ripper was, he moved quick. He worked completely in the blackness of night and was still skilled enough to be able to remove completely intact internal organs.
Right.
Working in the dark, pitch black, he was able to remove a complete kidney, a heart, a couple uteruses.
So he was a surgeon.
He had to have training and education about
The body.
the
anatomy.
body, the anatomy, how to remove those things intact.
Yeah.
This isn't somebody that just was hacking around and happened to pull out, a uterus. No. He knew how to do this.
Where to go. Yeah.
Yeah. So, them saying in the movie that it was a surgeon, there's something to that, because not only was he a surgeon, he was able to do this fast and in the dark.
Yeah.
That's somebody who's trained and skilled.
Yes. Who has done it repeatedly.
Yes.
Because I mean, I can tell you roughly where the kidney is. I can tell you roughly where the heart is, but I couldn't be like, oh, you need to cut this vein and cut this vein and get it out perfectly.
Yeah. And referring back to the Morbid podcast, Elena, who is a autopsy technician, was saying that removing the uterus is actually very difficult to do with the placement of it and how to get it out. And that one in particular would be very difficult. So the fact that he did that not once but twice is
Right.
This is somebody that had some medical training.
Yeah.
For sure. From Hell shows, and I think this was just them wanting to give some sort of happily ever after to an otherwise atrocious story, but it shows Mary Kelly, the last Ripper victim, actually surviving because her friend had fallen asleep in her bed and the Ripper killed her
instead
and not Mary Kelly. And, you know, Mary then moved to Ireland and lived in the movie. She's the one that raised Annie Crook's baby.
Okay.
Back in Ireland. That's not the case. No. In the movie, Johnny Depp's character notices that the hair is a different color and, you know, oh, this wasn't actually Mary Kelly. Well, Mary Kelly had a fiance and he did identify what was left of her body. I guess it was mostly her eyes because even her face was, that poor girl was reduced to hamburger. She was just horrific. If you haven't seen the photos, first of all, don't look, they're terrible. But if you do, you will see that there was very little left of her to identify, but he did identify her body. I think the reason her death was the most brutal is that she was the only one that was killed inside. Yeah. She was in her room in the rooming house and either brought him in or he came in. Somehow he ended up there with her. And he didn't have to work as quick with her. He didn't have to.
He could take his time. He wasn't afraid of getting caught.
Yeah. So he
it may be something. Okay, so if that was his last killing, maybe something happened to him because it would have progressed to where he was taking more time and doing it inside because he was evolving and like getting better. I know that sounds horrible to say, but like the fact that he did move inside. So it would have continued with being more graphic, more brutal if he were to kill more.
Yeah. I really think there had to be something that happened because you don't commit crimes this brutal and then stop.
Yeah. Unless you got caught doing it, got caught because of the evidence, or something majorly happened to you.
Yeah. Something stopped him. Now there are there's conspiracy people that believe Jack the Ripper came to the United States and is actually the same person as H.H. Holmes, the guy that had the murder hotel, basically.
Okay.
Whose character was in American Horror Story. There's people that believe that. There isn't any evidence to confirm that, but that is a conspiracy people have.
That would be an interesting one to go down the rabbit hole and figure out if that could possibly be, because I could see that and see why people think that.
Yeah. Because, I mean, think about it. He killed somebody inside and went, huh.
Yeah.
Then I can do exactly what I want. And then if he was the same person, so then he comes here, he has this building and welcomes people in and then tortures and kills them. So that's an interesting theory.
It is.
Did he move somewhere and continue his crimes? Did somebody stop him? Did something stop him? You know, what if it was something as simple as he got
ran over by a carriage?
Yeah. Get ran over by a carriage or choked on a grape, or, we don't. Okay, so in the movie, it shows Aberline, Johnny Depp's character, overdosing on opium out of depression that he can't be with Mary Kelly because there's a romance between the two of them in the movie. But because she escaped, okay, let me back up. The royal family was behind this cover up.
Yeah.
And they were trying to protect their name, their legacy. So they wanted these girls taken out. Well, one escaped. So he thought if he went to her and anyone followed him and found out she was alive, that he was going to be putting her at risk.
Yeah.
So he never went after her. And in the movie, he was depressed and he overdosed on opium and died.
Yeah.
In actuality, Aberline lived to be 86 years old before he passed. So,
Okay.
he lived a good full life.
Yeah.
So, if the royal conspiracy shown isn't possible, who are the most likely suspects according to historians? We just established that it's H.H. Holmes. Like, we figured that
Right.
out with no evidence whatsoever. We have figured this out. But historians lean towards, and I hope I don't massacre all of these names, but their suspects are Aaron Kosminski, George Chapman, and Francis Tumblety. Aaron,
what did these men do?
Okay, well, Aaron was mentioned as a suspect by 3 different Ripper investigators.
Okay.
He was a barber, so there's that. He somewhat matched the description of eyewitnesses, which I find that funny, that he somewhat matched.
Yeah.
He is male. He has hair and eyes. He somewhat matches. He was sent to an asylum in 1891 and died there in 1919.
Okay.
Because of the organ removal in some of these crimes and the short time span the killer was working with, there's a lot saying that
a barber could do this. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very.
But the crime stopped when he went away.
But the crime stopped.
Okay, so what about the other people? Because
yeah, the Aaron, I'm not real convinced about that one. Now, George was the prime suspect of Aberline himself.
Okay.
He was a trained surgeon in Poland, and he was working as a barber in London during that time.
There you go. It's the both.
It would explain the apron for sure. The Ripper murders stopped when Chapman moved to New York.
Oh, see, he moved to America.
When he moved back to London, he used poison to kill 3 of his wives from 1897 to 1902. At that time, he was caught and hung for those crimes. So that one
justice happened a little.
Yeah, that one checks a lot of the boxes. Yes, and the fact that he was a trained surgeon and a barber.
Yes. However, if he was Jack the Ripper, I think he would kill his wives in the same way.
You would think. Like, why would he switch the way that he was?
Right. Unless he was like, yeah, I don't want to get caught. They're too close to me.
And did anyone ever look to see if he killed anybody in New York, or there were any unsolved murders in New York during that time period?
Let's do some investigating and find out.
I think we need to. Okay, so George seems like he could be something. Now, Francis was arrested for gross indecency and sexual assault in Whitechapel during the murders. He was charged with suspicion for the killings and made bail before fleeing across the Atlantic. He retreated into a life of obscurity and died in 1903. The fact that it's gross indecency and sexual assault, but the Ripper didn't didn't rape these women. He just brutally slaughtered them. So, but then again, like you want to say it wasn't a sexual crime, but he took 2 of the uteruses.
Yes.
So that
But that's the thing that makes me think it's a surgeon trying to do studies, and he doesn't have the bodies to do the studies that he wants to do on. So he's just going to go find people to do the studies.
Take out body parts and
yeah.
Well, we have already said it was an incredibly poor time of
exactly black market.
Yeah, there's so much to this that we don't know, and questions will never get answered because there's some crimes like the horrible case with Jean-Benet Ramsey.
Right.
There's still the chance that science could come up with new technologies that could help us solve that crime. But something like Jack the Ripper, like there's nothing, we don't have the evidence or things we can test dating that far back that we'll ever really know.
Yeah,
sure.
like with the JonBenet Ramsey case, I truly believe it was somebody in the house. Mother, father, brother. I really do.
There's so many things that lead you to really go, how could
I
it
don't
not be?
believe it's an outside source.
Yeah.
Because if it's an outside source, the body wouldn't have stayed in the house.
Probably not.
Not of a little girl.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
That's a horrible case.
It is.
Hopefully someday we'll know what happened to that sweet girl.
On somebody's deathbed. That's when we're going to find out.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Well, I thought we would find out when Mom was on her way out, but that didn't happen. So that's what we got. That's the comparison between From Hell and Jack the Ripper, and From Hell wrapped it up in a nice little bow that justice was served. In the Jack the Ripper case, I don't know.
Much.
Maybe it was, and we'll never know about that.
Right.
Hard to say.
Yeah. Maybe it was George.
Maybe it was George. Maybe it was H.H. Holmes.
Right.
I
don't think it was Aaron.
No, I don't think it was Aaron. I don't think it was Francis.
Yeah.
Maybe it was some sort of demon that was feasting on organs.
Maybe.
Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah. That was a good one. I need to go watch the movie. I really do.
It's interesting. It's interesting.
Yeah.
As long as you know that's not what happened.
Right.
That's not right.
Yeah. This is definitely not the movie that I thought it was. I was thinking of something else, and I'll have to go figure out what movie that is.
Yeah.
And let you know what I was thinking.
No clue.
It was.
So do you have any idea what you're going to do next week?
I don't. No.
Oh, boy. Well, I guess if anyone listening has any ideas, they should
send it my way.
Send it our way and let us know.
Yeah,
and Sandra, if they want to get a hold of us, how can they?
On Facebook and Instagram at The Mimesis Podcast, or Gmail at themimesispodcast@gmail.com.
Awesome. And we have our TikTok now.
Yes. It's Mimesis Podcast.
Your Final Destination.
It's getting some views.
It's getting some views. A lot of people are haunted by the movie Final Destination.
I'm telling you, I am.
You know what? Maybe that's what you should do. You should go to the different kind of ways that people died in Final Destination and do a search and see if anyone ever actually died that way.
Dude, I'm doing it.
That's a good one.
And we can do make it fun and do true or false.
Okay, I like that. That's a good one.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll look that up.
And I am not going to research it at all, so I have no clue, and I can just guess.
Yeah, don't.
I will watch Final Destination again, though, because my kids
I'll go
seen that
through
one.
at least the first two, because obviously the log has to be in there.
Oh, yeah. The log has to.
Yeah. And then, we'll just,
Yeah. Cool. This will be fun.
Cool.
Well, there we go. But if people have other show ideas that they would like to do, still reach out to us. We want to hear from you.
Yes, please. We want to hear from you guys.
All right. It sounds like that's all we've got for today.
Yep.
So until next time, bye.
Bye.